I'd like to be recognized just for a few minutes to comment on the fact that I believe the body has come to agreement on my resolution along with Senator Menendez standing behind Israel in this conflict with Hamas. As I speak, apparently there's a ground action going on by the Israelis in Gaza. From my point of view, do what you have to do to defend yourself. I can't believe they've actually waited this long. I can't imagine what the American response would have been if one rocket had come from our neighboring nations toward our country. We would not be so restrained. A two-state solution seems to be a very reasonable approach. The problem with Hamas, as the President of the Senate knows, the presiding officer, is that Hamas doesn't recognize Israel as an entity. Pretty hard to negotiate with somebody who doesn't recognize you exist and tell their school children you don't exist, and the hatred that comes from Hamas in their schools toward Israel is not conducive to peace. The resolution passed unanimously by the Senate on the very night that Israel decided to use ground force, I think is appropriate and very symbolic. The Senate does not see a moral equivalency here. As Prime Minister Netanyahu said, Israel uses missiles, help in collaboration with the United States to produce the technology called Iron Dome to defend civilians. Hamas uses civilians to cover their missile program, making human shields of their own people. That says really all you need to know. So I am pleased that in a bipartisan fashion, unanimous in nature, the United States Senate is on record supporting the state of Israel in this conflict, understanding their justification for defending themselves, and that there is no moral equivalency here. To my Israeli friends and allies, we wish you well. I expect that you will continue to defend yourselves against a terrorist organization. To the Palestinians who have formed a unity government, you need to break away from Hamas. There will never be peace until you marginalize the terrorist organization called Hamas, until you reject what they stand for and the way they have behaved. And finally, to those who wish for Israel to give land up and withdraw from territories, please remember that's exactly what Israel did in Gaza. They withdrew all their forces, and what have they gotten in return? Tens of thousands of rockets. So those who are pushing a peace plan in the Mideast between the Palestinians and the Israelis, hope you'll remember security for Israel has to be the centerpiece of any peace deal. And how can you obtain peace when one of the members of the Palestinian government, Hamas, has fired thousands of rockets, caring less where they fall? They could care less if it falls on a kindergarten or a military base. They just care to kill Israelis. Israelis have killed civilians, but they go the extra mile in time of war and conflict to minimize casualties. They tell you that we're going to bomb you. They pass out leaflets. They tell people to leave. That says a lot about the Israelis. So the United States Senate is in Israel's camp in a bipartisan fashion. I yield.